UFC Fight Night Vegas 82, Ailin versus Craig just took place, and I'm going to go through the entire card, starting with the early prelims, ending with the main event, giving my reaction and breakdown to every single fight on the card, and my overall event recap as well, starting with the early prelim opener of Charles Johnson versus, I believe his name was, I'm going to check and double check right now, Rafael Estevam? Yes, it was. Rafael Estevam gets the job done. I picked against him here. He basically just did what he needed to do in rounds 1 and 2. Charles Johnson on the stats does look like he got this one done, but it was basically just a really, really good third round that he had where he looked like he could have maybe broke Estevam as the round went on. But Rafael Estevam survived, had a good first 2 rounds with a grappling as well. Charles Johnson did massively outland him in round 2, but I guess the submission attempts and the grappling positions of Rafael Estevam were too much. They ended up giving a decision to him. I was kind of all right with it by saying that Johnson would do more damage and not get finished on the ground, and that would lead to him winning, but it is what it is. Rafael Estevam got the job done. And I think that might be it for Charles Johnson now, because he may have lost one too many at this point. We move on. Up the card, I did really badly on picks. This included in why I did badly on picks. Trey Ogden versus Nikolas Motta. So Trey Ogden is winning. He's outstriking Motta. There's some competitiveness to it, don't get me wrong. He's outstriking Motta. He's getting his takedowns. Some of them are failing. A lot of them are failing, but he's working on Motta. He's grinding on him. He's getting the takedowns. As the fight goes on, he's doing better and better with the grappling. Round 3, he's got what he wants. He's got good position, and he goes for an arm triangle. We got to talk about the arm triangle here. He's got the arm triangle. Now, Motta was fighting his way out of it, so I'm not saying that he definitely would have tapped or gone out cold. Like, he could have survived that position, for sure. I don't mind saying that. But it was a really fight-ending possibility there. Like, that was a high fight-ending possibility where Ogden had him in an arm triangle. There was no tap. There was no arm going limp. His hand was, like, trying to muscle its way in under the arm of Trey Ogden. The ref just jumps in anyway. Don't know why. Motta complains, of course, even though he probably was going to lose anyway, but he just got a message from the gods to keep his UFC career. And now Trey Ogden doesn't get a win because the referee ruined it. Pathetic, dumb, draw to overturned. We move on up the card. Lucie Pudilova versus Ailin Perez. Pretty trash fight. Ailin Perez just sort of out-grappled her in moments. Won it based on that. Had moments where Lucie Pudilova was on top of her, but ended up getting a better position for herself. And won the fight pretty impressively. There may be an annoying noise. My computer's being really weird. Ailin Perez got the job done and started gyrating on the cage pretty much with her feet up in the air with her son in the crowd. It was really enjoyable for us to watch. But I don't know if it's enjoyable for your son, child son, in the crowd to see you do up against a cage with your feet in the air. And her coach was even slapping at it as well. Crazy, but there you go. Ailin Perez does what she does best, in all honesty. We move on. Up the card. Jeka Saragih versus Lucas Alexander. Jeka Saragih got this one done by TKO in round 1. Feel bad for Lucas Alexander because he was like kind of putting a whooping on Saragih. Was kind of putting a whooping on him. He was looking good, looking crisp, looking really technical and dangerous on the feet. Not putting a whipping on him in terms of like knocking him down all over the place, but he was hurting him on the feet. Like he was cracking him with shots, and immediately in this fight, within about a minute, you could see Saragih was like, oh God, I don't like this whatsoever. And then Lucas Alexander, I believe, slips down or gets taken down whilst he's off balance, gets back up to his feet after he sort of rolls for a leg, and then Saragih kind of catches him on the chin as he gets back up to his feet, puts him away, finishes him off on the ground with ground and pound. Saragih gets it done. Upset win. Good for him. Lucas Alexander gets chinned. I was wrong there as well. We move on. Up the card. Mick Parkin versus Caio Machado. I'm going to be real with this one. I felt like Caio Machado won the fight. In all honesty. I honestly, watching it live, I understood that there was like the judges are going to go either way with this one. Purely because it wasn't clear what Machado was doing to him. But Machado, in my opinion, effectively outlanded him damage-wise in round 1 and 3. And that's kind of what it comes down to, right? Parkin won round 2, in my opinion, pretty clearly. First of all, terrible performance from both of them. They looked awful, like normal unranked heavyweights do. But Machado, in my opinion, really effectively outlanded him in round 1 and 3. And I thought that's what the fight would come down to. They ended up going with Parkin. I think maybe because he just didn't react to anything that Machado threw at him. And he seemed to have Machado sort of doubling back quite a bit. He was pressuring. Machado was sort of worried quite a bit as well. But for this to be a unanimous decision in favor of Mick Parkin, I get there's takedowns, and at heavyweight, when someone's on bottom position, it seems like a lot more. But you got to go based off damage, and I feel like Machado did more damage in that fight, in all honesty, at least in rounds 1 and 3. So yeah, Machado should have won. Decision went Mick Parkin's way. He looked terrible, though. In his first fight, he looked light on his feet, good combos. This fight, his hands were slow. Maybe it's just as soon as grappling gets implemented at heavyweight outside the rankings, they got a round of cardio in him. We move on. Up the card, Christian Leroy Duncan versus Denis Tuiliulin. Now, this was a roller coaster because in round 1, I was like, come on, mate. Tuiliulin came out on smoke, to use that word very literally there. On smoke. Came out, guns blazing, right after Christian Leroy Duncan. No time wasted. Started landing some good shots on him. And then at the end of the round was basically like Christian Leroy Duncan, like, God, I don't like this pressure. Let me hold him against a cage. And I was literally about to tweet, we need to change, like, why implement the rules of separating when there's stalling happening if you're not going to do it? And I was complaining that he was holding him against a cage for the whole of the first round, but he was kneeing the thigh of Tuiliulin and elbowing him in the face now and again up against a cage. It just wasn't a fun round. Round 2, both guys start scrapping again. Don't get me wrong, Leroy Duncan's swinging a bit and getting missed and getting hit now and again by Tuiliulin, and he's landing back, but Tuliulin's chin is absolutely ridiculous. Leroy Duncan hit him with some nasty elbows especially. Big shots in the pocket as well. I want to say he hit him with some head kicks, front kicks and stuff like that, and Tuiliulin just took all of it until eventually he could take no more. One thing I will say about Duncan is he was so obviously, for moments of that fight, being like, this is the bit where I get a wheel kick KO, or this is the bit where I get a jumping front kick to the face. Like, sometimes the 1-2's all it takes, Leroy, and he ended up getting it done. Big respect. Crazy finish. Actually, one of the better finishing sequences this year, I would say. Even though it's not high profile in terms of a fight, really nasty finishing sequence. Elbow, uppercuts in the pocket, uppercuts, right hand, uppercut, right hand, elbow, follow-up shots, puts away Denis Tuiliulin. Really nasty combo up against a cage. Christian Leroy Duncan gets it done. Definitely worth a performance bonus for him, in my opinion, so far on the card. He's the only one I would give it to. But maybe a few fighters should get it. They had some wicked KOs, but his was really nasty. He should definitely get one. Chad Anheliger versus Jose Johnson. Finished in the 3rd round. But to be fair, I was surprised by Chad Anheliger. I picked Jose Johnson to win because he's massive compared to Anheliger. Anheliger's way past his prime. I don't know how old he is now, but he's getting up there in terms of age. I'm just going to double check right now. He's 36 now in the bantamweight division, and he's never made it up the top of it. So it's not like he's one of these older guys that might still have it. Like, you know what I mean? Very late in his career. I thought Johnson was going to finish him in round 1. But this was a really fun fight. Both guys had good moments. Both guys landed shots. Johnson was always a step ahead, I felt like. But Anheliger was scrambling with him well. Both guys had good takedowns on each other. There was a moment where they had a crazy scramble in round 1 that was really fun to watch, where both of them were just rolling around all over the place. Jose Johnson kept ending up on top. That's what he made sure to do towards the end of the rounds. Ended up on top, got the back, started threatening a choke, landing ground and pound. And that's really what this fight came down to. But both guys did all right in the fight. Anheliger held his own, but Johnson was just a little bit too much physicality because he was it looked like 3 different... It looked like a bantamweight versus a lightweight out there, and I'm not exaggerating. Johnson is a massive guy, and Anheliger is arguably a flyweight, really. So Jose Johnson wins and basically just latches up the rear naked choke with literally like 15 seconds to go. So really good for him. Got the finish. But he did have some moments where I was like, oh, hang on. This should be a bit easier. But Anheliger was tough and really game. We move on. Jonathan Pearce versus Joanderson Brito. Get up and do something. That's basically the story of the fight. Round 1, very close round. Both guys scrambling around. Brito did more damage on the feet that round, but Pearce was getting his takedowns going in that round as well and getting top position now and again. Brito had top position in moments as well, though. I'm not going to say he didn't. In round 2, this is where it started to get a lot more dominant for Jonathan Pearce. He started like really pushing the grappling and like really winning heavy in the grappling. and landing good shots of ground and pound and stuff. And it was like, oh God, this ain't looking good for Brito. He's been on the bottom this whole time, and Pearce is literally working him right now. Not too much ground and pound, but he was like really positionally controlling him with ease in round 2. Pearce starts talking shit to him because Brito's like mocking Pearce. Brito hit him behind the head, and Pearce went, Rev, he's hitting me behind the head, he is. And then Brito was like, blah, 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 on the ground, making noises like that. And then Pearce was like, okay, you're on bottom position. I'm going to start shit-talking you. And started going, get up. Why don't you get up and do something, boy? He kept saying that to him on top position while he was like punching him in the face, which was badass when it first was said. And then Brito got back up and subbed him immediately with a guillotine. It was nasty, dude. Got back up, latched up a guillotine. It was very Holly Holm, Mayra Bueno Silva style in terms of the way it was gotten. In terms of the angle of it. Really weird. And Pearce immediately had to tap because it was locked in tight. And then Brito became Derek Lewis in this post-fight moment, celebrating by taking off his underwear. In the moment, I literally thought he was going to take off everything because he just ripped his shorts down. It wasn't like a methodical lowering of the shorts. It was like a whoom, all of it down. I was like, whoa! And then it was like, oh God, it's just his shorts. Thank fuck for that. Joanderson, Brito gets it done. Wicked submission. Wicked win for him. Got to get him a ranked opponent now for sure. We move on to the main card. Uros Medic versus Mick Urolbai, the caveman himself. Never evolved like the rest of us. But that's good, it feels like these days. I ranted about him on Twitter. I'm going to be honest with you. I went a bit far. My computer was making funny noises and I was stressing it was going to blow up. So yeah, that's why I was sort of angry on Twitter more than I should have been. And I sort of said a bunch of things about hills have eyes and inbreeding and, you know, the usual guru stuff. Uros Medic was whooping him in round 1 for the first minute. I don't want to say whooping him like he whooped him in round 1, but he was dominating the first minute of the fight, whooping up Urolbai with massive shots and combos, knees to the body, massive shots, kicks to the body, all that stuff on the feet. And then Urolbai just stuck to him like glue, held him against a cage, dragged him down. As he got back up, dragged him down again. If he got back up, dragged him down again. Got back up, dragged him down again. If he got back up, dragged him down again. Dragged him down again. And laid on him some more. And dragged him down again. And dragged him down again. And sometimes dragged him down again. And dragged him down again. And then sometimes, watch out, he dragged him down again. You guessed it. And then choked him out in round 2 with a neck crank. More of a neck crank than it was a, it's a face crank more than a rear naked choke, but he got it done. Wicked win from Urolbai. Medic was looking on fire in the first minute, but Urolbai survived it and went after him in the grappling, and good win, to be fair. We move on. Up the card. Luana Pinheiro versus Amanda Ribas. So, wow, Amanda Ribas. Really good win for her. As far as I remember this fight, I had Pinheiro in round 1 because she looked like she had Ribas in danger in round 1 at one point, and Pinheiro just seemed like she had better hands than Ribas and was being more aggressive and seemed like she was more willing to grit down and throw. So round 1, Pinheiro was doing good, outlanding Ribas, and I was trashing Ribas because she looked terrible on the feet. So weird looking, so unsmooth in her movements, really bad looking on the feet. Round 2, Pinheiro's doing good. Ribas comes back at the end of round 2, and Pinheiro's starting to slow down a little bit and get hit quite a bit. Spinning back kick to the body from Ribas as she's circling out, which may have set up what I'm about to talk about in a second. Ribas was landing good shots on the feet towards the end of round 2 as well. And round 2, Ribas picks it up towards the end of it, in my opinion. Round 3, Pinheiro's and Ribas are going at it. Ribas is doing good. Pinheiro gets her down with like a scramble, gets a dash choke on her. Ribas escapes. They scramble around a bit more. Ribas gets back to her feet, starts walking down Pinheiro, wheel kicks her, steps through, wheel kick, lands with the palm of the foot right on the jaw. Pinheiro's hurt, follows up with ground and pound and finishes her off. Amazing win by Amanda Ribas. Performance bonus worthy, 100%. Wicked finish, out of nowhere. I was literally just saying how terrible she was looking in the fight, and she whipped out a fucking wheel kick right on the jaw. Amazing work from Amanda Ribas. We move on. Peyton Talbott versus Nick Aguirre. Nick was doing good in round 1. I thought, oh my God, no way he's going to beat Peyton Talbott. This guy's terrible. I watched his fights. I was like, this guy ain't good. He ain't going to beat Peyton Talbott. Talbot, as they're pronouncing it, Talbot. But Aguirre went straight after him with the takedowns and dominated the first round with back control. Dominated the first round. Looked like Talbott wasn't really too switched on like he was in round 2 and 3, which is what we're going to have to talk about here. So Aguirre won round 1, 10-9. Round 2, Talbott looked like a different person. Switched on, zen, in the mode, in the zone, walking down Nick, space, Aguirre. Why name your first name? Why name your son Nick if your surname is Aguirre, you idiot? Either way, Peyton Talbott, massive shots. Started walking him down and picking him apart, basically. The finishing sequence, though, is what we want to talk about here. Peyton Talbott flips over him to get out of a takedown. He's getting taken down. He's sprawling it, and he decides to front flip over the top of Nikolas Aguirre. Front flips over the top of him, gets back up, and then starts landing good shots on him, hurting him, gets into mount position as Aguirre goes down after he stuffs a takedown and throws him over, and then just beats him up from there and gets the submission. Really good job by Peyton Talbott. Wicked performance come the second and third round. We move on. Chase Hooper versus Jordan Levitt. This was amazing. This actually was amazing. I was expecting this to be a bad-looking fight. Neither of them looking too crisp. I thought Levitt would do good, to be honest with you. I thought Levitt would do way better than other opponents, but Levitt was the easiest opponent of Chase Hooper's career, so he's clearly improving. But there was some danger for both of them. So both of them were just rolling around on the ground like madmen. Chase Hooper came out throwing heat on the feet. Levitt got a takedown on him and started sort of doing good positionally. And then they both started going for stuff. Leg locks, armbar attempts. Hooper was throwing up his legs everywhere. And Levitt would sort of scramble it and end up in side control and half guard and then get reversed. And Hooper would roll around for a leg and Levitt would attack his leg at the same time. And it was like a really weird scramble of jiu-jitsu. It was like they were flow jiu-jitsu sparring for a show, is basically what it looked like. And Chase Hooper eventually, in the middle of one of those scrambles, latched up that rear naked choke out of nowhere. I didn't think he would have had it, but in one of the scrambles, he literally was just like, there it is, latched it up, got the rear naked choke, and subbed Jordan Levitt in round 1, which Pimlet couldn't do. You know what I mean? Like, I know Pimlet's not seen as a great guy, but this is Hooper. This is definite improvement that we're seeing from his game. He definitely surprised me here. Amazing performance by him. He gets the submission, and he buys more time for himself to train, which is the big thing for Chase Hooper. You know, if he can avoid damage for a bit and buy himself time, he's going to get better as a guy because he's a young dude. We move on. Michael Morales versus Jake Matthews. Michael Morales gets this one done. 30-27, 29-28. I feel like round 3 could have gone to Jake Matthews, to be honest with you, purely because Morales was doing good in first and second-ish. To be honest with you, Morales weren't even doing that good. I'm going to be real with you. Morales wasn't even really doing that good. He was just sort of outpointing Jake Matthews. With shots here and there, the inside low kicks were working for him. I don't really see what's that great about him other than his reach, which seems to give these guys problems, and Matthews wasn't really landing too much. So round 1 and 2, Morales outpoints him on the feet minorly. And then round 3, Jake Matthews actually rocks Michael Morales. No, he doesn't even do that. Nothing really happened. Jake Matthews started landing better in round 3, and it went to a decision. That's basically what it was. Neither of them really pulled a trigger to get a finish. Morales finished a round strong in 1 and 2 by going after Matthews against the cage and swinging on him, and that's what definitely sealed the deal for him. But that was basically it. We move on to the main event. This is what I want to talk about. I've just lost internet. Brendan Allen versus Paul Craig. Amazing win from Brendan Allen. Amazing win. Round 1. The whole fight, I was like, what are you doing, Brendan? Get up. You whoop this guy on the feet. Whoop him on the feet. He had a point to prove, I feel like, about his grappling. And he had the same mindset when it came to the Andre Muniz fight, where I was like, dude, stand him up, beat him up. And he was like, no, I'm going to the ground with this dude. And he was winning because of it. Brendan Allen's legit. Paul Craig's never had good stand-up. Some people just aren't meant to have hands, and Paul Craig is one of them. And Brendan Allen was landing good shots, landed a great shot in round 2. He cut him open with an elbow on top position. There were moments where Paul Craig had his leg tangled up where I was like, oh, God. You know what I mean? This is a worrying position, and they both would go for each other's leg. And I think Paul Craig actually went for a calf slicer at one point, which was like, Jesus, this would be crazy. And someone in my chat jokingly predicted it would happen as well, so that would have been mental. But Brendan Allen was staying on top position, staying patient, staying calm. Elbows from half guard on top, cutting open Paul Craig, landing good shots. Round 2, he wobbles Paul Craig badly on the feet. Not that badly, but wobbled him with a good shot. And then Craig shot in and Ailin defended and ended up in full guard on top. And I was like, why? Stand him up, finish him by KO. But Brendan Ailin just dominated him on the ground. Half guard, full mount, kept getting those positions. Craig would work back to half guard and tangle up his leg. But Brendan Ailin stayed safe, stayed out of submissions, landed elbows, landed big shots. And round 3, he went out there, pushed the pace very early in the round. And worked his way into a rear naked choke from like a side angle that he then sunk in deep. Brendan Ailin gets it done by 3rd round rear naked choke. Incredibly good win from him. Really good win from him. Dominates the fight and wins by 3rd round submission. Solid win. One thing I really liked about this for Brendan Ailin as well, by the way, is the fact that he actually had a great moment on the mic. Something that's been missing from Brendan Ailin is him breaking through to the casual fan base with his personality and stuff. But he really had a good moment on the mic. Shouted out his team, Jamal Hill, Joe Pyfer, his other guy on there. He said, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to talk my words. He just spoke really well on the microphone. Had a wholesome moment with his daughter on the post-fight moment as well. And just called out anyone above him in the rankings, basically. Called out a bunch of names. Hamzat, he called something else that I don't want to get demonetized for here. But yeah, really good stuff from Brendan Ailin. Called out Robert Whittaker, Paulo Costa, names like that. So, really good stuff from Brendan Ailin. Wicked win. Wicked win over Paul Craig. I think Paul Craig should retire. He's always going to have the wins over Jamal Hill and... He's always going to have the wins over Jamal Hill, Nikita Krylov, Magomed Ankalaev, which are crazy to say out loud because that's how many great wins this guy has. Call it quits. You got all your faculties. You're not going to make a run at middleweight for a title. You're not going to remake a run at light heavyweight for a title. You're getting old. How old is Paul Craig now? I want to say he's 35. I don't have internet. I don't know why. Paul Craig looked good in other fights. He never looks good, but he pulls it off. You know what I mean? So retire, dude. You're always going to have those wins. You don't need the CTE to go with it. Like and subscribe. Thank you for watching. Amazing win from Brendan Ailin. Really dominant force in the main event. Performance bonuses I would give out. Probably Brendan Ailin, Chase Hooper, Amanda Ribas, and Christian Leroy Duncan. I'd give out 4 performance bonuses. If they want to give out more, they can, but those are the 4 I'd probably choose. See you later. Goodbye.